It's time to play at the lodge. I buy in for $2,000, which is the max initially, in a game that's listed as 510 with a $10 big blind ante, but it's matched the stack after we start, and I promise you, there will be straddles, double straddles, and triple straddles to 100, so it's going to play massive today with 5-figure pots. We're playing on stream with a handful of familiar faces, including Andrew Nemi. Everyone's in for the maximum amount right away, with plans to add on once some people start winning hands so that we can play deeper. A few hands in, we've got the Nick game going on. Under the gun straddles to 25. We're dealt ace-jack offsuit middle position. I raised to 75. Mixon's in the cutoff. After months of intense training, he recently became a certified maniac. He puts that certification to use, 3-betting to 290 with a very speculative hand. In an effort to make games softer, I've been leaving copies of Gus Hansen's book, Every Hand Revealed, all over the property. Perhaps Mixon picked one of them up and is utilizing one of Gus's plays. With the Nick game, people are willing to attempt all kinds of wild re-raises. I'm well aware that's what could be taking place right now. Ace-Jack offsuit might be the best hand, but there are a lot of flops that'll be difficult for us to navigate from out of position, so we may as well see if our opponent's willing to play for everything.
Owen.
We 4-bet shove for almost 1,800 effective since we have the opponent slightly covered. We catch our buddy, and Master Barbecuer making a move. He has no choice but to fold. We have to show what we ripped it in with in order to get rid of our nip button. We win a few hundred early on. In this one, I've double straddled to 50. I've added on 2,000 more to match one of the other larger stacks, as have a lot of other players. The action folds to the small blind. It's an opponent I'm not very familiar with named JL. He raises to 150. The raise is on the smaller side since he'll be playing from out of position. We're closing the action with 10-8 offsuit. I call for 100 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes King 8-5 with 2 hearts. We've got middle pair. Anytime I make a pair, I'm usually pretty happy about it. The small blind continues betting for 100. It's less than a third of the pot. It's too early to tell whether or not we're ahead, but for that price, we're not going to be folding. I call to see what develops. The turn is the 10 of spades, giving us middle 2 pair. We're not losing to too many combinations, and we have removal to a handful of them. The small blind goes for a much larger sizing this time of 500. It's nearly a pot-sized bet. There are a ton of draws out there. Our hand isn't likely to improve with so many potentially bad river cards. We could be up against something like aces or ace-king, or a hand that has a lot of equity like ace-queen or ace-jack of hearts. When we're strong but vulnerable, I like to play aggressively. The opponent has 3,500 total in his stack. I'm okay getting it in, but it's a little more than I want to jam for right now. Instead, I put in a small raise to 1,300 to really put the pressure on the opponent in case he has top pair. If he calls, he'll only have 2/3 of a pot-sized bet left in his stack. He's not going to want to fold a king for 800 more right now. Then he won't want to fold on the river if I jam, and he's getting 2.5 to 1. He's kind of forced to make a decision here if he wants to play for all of it or not.
Skull Mike's prediction might come true for Brad to win a pile today.
Come on.
He just might. JL ships it in. And I don't think Brad's going anywhere. Biggest pot of the day so far.
I snap call the shove. My mind was already made up on what we do if the opponent 3-bet jammed. We're in great shape as an 81% favorite in a pot over $7,500. Although it's not over, the opponent hits us with the... When we hear that with one card to come, there's obviously no way we're going to win, especially with how I run in this room. We're going one time for a substantial all-in pot. It's the biggest one of the day so far. We just need to hold. The river is the 5 of diamonds, pairing the board, counterfeiting our 2 pair, and giving our opponent the win. It's an absolutely brutal run out that puts us several thousand in the hole. There weren't a lot of cards that could help the small blind. He manages to find one anyway.
Any 9, any king, apparently any 5.
Brad's money. I'm just happy to have it.
It's chapter 6, baby. Suck out on the river.
Yeah.
That was disgusting.
Right off the bat, we're stuck. All we can do is get it in good to accumulate Skolansky dollars. This one hurts to lose though. I add on for 4,000 more. I'm in for 8,000 total. There's still a lot of poker left to play, and if people keep getting it in against us with 1 pair and no kicker, we should be able to manage a comeback. I just need to shake it off and try not to let it bother me that instead of being up 4,500, we're down over 3,000. At least we're in good company, as the only person who's currently stuck more than us is Mixon, and he's playing some of the best poker that I've ever seen. To make myself feel better, I start thinking about the $5 million free roll that I'll be playing this December with $1 million for first. If you sign up to ClubWPTGold.com using promo Brad, you'll have a chance to win one of 40 more golden passports worth $2,500 each that I'm giving away to people randomly. The passports give you an entry into the event. It's limited to 2,000 players. I have more information in the description box below, but take advantage of the giveaway. There's no deposit or purchase necessary. It's as good as it gets. Next, JL wants to get in the mix with the insurrection hand as he raises to 75 for middle position. Andrew's in the cutoff with the hand that he wants to play. He 3-bets to 300. We're next to act with pocket 10s on the button. It's a tricky spot. Under normal circumstances, we could reasonably fold pocket 10s the majority of the time after seeing a raise and a re-raise, with the small blind, big blind, and under the gun straddler still to act. Under normal circumstances, people aren't opening jack 6 suited though. When ranges are absurdly wide, pocket 10s isn't a hand that we're going to be folding. We don't want to call either when we could be best. I cold 4-bet to 750. If we can get a hand containing 2 overs to fold that has plenty of equity against us, that's a giant win. JL folds, the action's back on Andrew. He has to be worried that he can be dominated because it's not too often that I'll be 4-betting light. I happen to be towards the bottom of my range at the moment though. Andrew wants to see a flop. He calls for 450 more. We're heads up in position. I suspect that we're up against a narrow range of hands like ace-king, ace-queen, or ace-jack suited, maybe queens, jacks, or nines. The flop comes ace-jack-7 with 2 spades. It's an awful flop for us because it smashes our opponent's 4-bet call range. Andrew checks. We'll still have a narrow concentration of strong hands like aces, ace-king, and pocket jiggities. I'm going to c-bet almost pure in this spot. I bet 600 to put pressure on the opponent. If he has queens or a combo containing a jack with no backdoor flush possibility, he'll often fold. Andrew calls, which is alarming for us. We almost definitely don't have the best hand. The turn is the queen of hearts. I don't like seeing it because it's coordinated with the flop and could have helped our opponent improve. Andrew could definitely have 2 pair or better. He checks. Part of me wants to bet big because we can have all kinds of sets and we have removal to the straight, but I wave the white flag with a check back. The river is the ace of diamonds pairing the board. Andrew checks. I'm not too thrilled with the situation.
I can't beat anything.
Shit.
Can't beat anything does not, unfortunately. Nemi's going to win one off Bradley.
I lose another large pot. I'm a bit surprised to see what Andrew called our 4-bet with. It works out for him though. I can't help but wish that I fired multiple barrels because we likely could have gotten Andrew to fold at some point if I kept the pressure on, since he also happened to be at the bottom of his range. As is, I'm down $5,000 in the basement. It's a wild game though. I haven't given up hope that we can turn this around. I add on for 5,000 more to be in for 13,000 total. 2 hours in, Mo Money wants to dance with the double straddle on. He calls 50. JL raises to 200 on the button. We're in the under the gun straddle with queen 10 suited. I call for 175 more. Mo only budgeted 50 for this hand, so he folds rather than call to close the action. It's down to heads up and we're out of position. The flop comes 9-8 deuce with 2 spades. We've got a gutter with 2 overs. I check to the pre-flop aggressor. The button has middle pair. He bets 200. In general, people are c-betting at an incredibly high frequency today with hands that won't want to face raises. We have a draw to the nuts, plus, often if we hit a pair, we'll have the best hand. I raise to 600 to get hands that are beating us like ace highs and weak pairs to fold. Usually I'd refrain from check raising this exact hand unless I had a backdoor flush draw to go with it, but when you have to get revenge against someone, you can really do whatever you want. The button is a little sticky. He calls for 400 more. If he had a strong made hand, he probably would have re-raised with so many draws out there. When he doesn't raise, it makes me think that he has 1 pair at best, if not a draw of some sort. The turn is the 6 of clubs, giving us a double gutter to go along with our 2 overs. Mo hates seeing it. I doubt the 6 is going to help the button all that often. Meanwhile, we can have the nuts, sets, and 2 pair. I overbet 2,000 as a semi-bluff.
Polarizing on this turn. I really love this bet from Brad.
We can see that JL isn't too enthusiastic after seeing our large bet. He knows that we might not actually have it, but it's too expensive for him to continue, even with all of my money in his stack. He folds and shows an 8. We get our bluff through. There were quite a few cards that would have given us the win, but we don't need to hit any of them in order to take down the pot. Next, we're playing the nit game again. I've double straddled to 50 and already won a hand, so I don't have a nit button in front of me, whereas most players still have theirs, including Crypto Max. He raises to 150 with suited connectors from the hijack. Iowa Matt's on the button with a pocket pair. He calls. High is a regular on stream. I know he's capable of making some plays, like potentially right now is the big blind. He 3-bets to 700. We look down at ace-queen offsuit in the under-the-gun +1 double straddle. I know my opponents are all eager to win a hand to get rid of their nit buttons. Otherwise, the last person with one in front of them will have to add $500 of their money to the pot after they lose. There's another combo that would ordinarily be a fold, but under these conditions, we're going to play it because we could be best. We have removal to other strong hands like aces, queens, and ace-king. I cold 4-bet to 2,000. The fact that I don't have a nit button or any extra incentive to be aggressive makes our 4-bet even more alarming for our opponents. One by one, each of them fold. We win over $1,000 without having to see a flop. It's a great outcome. The very next hand, Max raises to 150 again. Highs in the small blind with a short stack. He calls. We're in the under the gun straddle, improving our kicker from the hand before. Now we've got big slick. I 3-bet to 900. Max probably feels like we're picking on him because he's been playing extremely loose while we've had the nit games on, and we keep 3 and 4 betting him. Before we get back to Max, Sleepy wakes up with the jiggities and the double straddle. He's in terrible shape, and he can't love the spot that he's found himself in after seeing a raise and a call, followed by a 3-bet. He's not folding though, and I don't blame him. He cold 4-bet jams for 36-10. There's about to be some carnage. The action's back on Max. The graphics say that he's got 2,200 left in his stack, but that's not accurate. Those yellow chips in front of him are worth 1,000 each. He's got 3 of them. Then he has about 2,000 in black chips in addition to a few hundred in green chips. He's not going anywhere. He 5-bet jams over $5,000, and we have him covered. High folds. I call, not being too confident, but not wanting to escape given the situation and the opponents that we're up against. This is a massive pot. I'm not upset when I see that neither opponent's holding an ace or king. There's almost $15,000 in the middle. I'm not feeling too confident after losing the run out with 10-8 earlier when our opponent drilled a 5 to pair the board and beat us out of 7,500. A win here would more than make up for it though. We're running it one time. The flop comes queen 5-4 all diamonds. Max hits top set. Sleepy's drawing dead to runner jack, and we've got a king high flush draw that's live. The turn is the deuce of clubs, giving us a wheel draw to go along with our flush draw. We can hit any diamond that's not a deuce, or we can hit a 3. Pretty regularly, you hear people complain about having too many outs and not hitting any of them. Well, we don't have that problem.
And he gets there twice!
Nice man.
Brad! Coming from behind.
Can I just not have the hand and let you guys do that?
Gets there on the river and scoops the biggest pot of the day, solidly putting himself in the black
Yeah. I don't know.
after a session of misery.
The pot of nearly $15,000 goes our way. After being down over $5,000 at the low point, we're now up almost $5,000 with the largest stack at the table. It's a $10,000 swing. It feels good to completely turn things around with the flip of a river card. We just need to try to keep it going. 3 hands later, Mo raises to 75 from under the gun +1. JL calls in middle position with a hand that's not strong, but he wants to get in the mix for the stream viewers. We're on the button with a premium. We've got ace-queen suited. After running cold for most of the session, we're now getting a lot of playable cards in a short span. I 3-bet to 400. Sleepy's next to act and is one of 2 players left with a nit button. Max is the only other remaining player with one. We just stacked him with our ace-king. He's had a rough day with the card distribution up to this point. I know he wants to avoid losing the nit game and wants to win a big pot in general. He cold 4-bet jams with his fresh 2,500.
Sleepy trying to get rid of this nit button desperately. Crypto Max already laying out the chips. For the splash pot, he's heads up with Sleepy. Mo Money gets out of the way. JL makes the fold. Brad is, of course, going to call. Once again, I believe these two got it in pre-flop. Ace-queen ran it out earlier. I know Brad did that with somebody.
We'll just run it once.
We're going to run it one time.
Owner's curse is all spades.
It's going to be a chop unless we see 2 hearts or 2 spades.
We're in a pot over $5,000 and the dealer puts out 10-6-4 with 2 spades. We've got a pure free roll. We just need to hit 1 more spade and we have 2 free spins to do it. The turn is the deuce of clubs. It's a black card that probably gave Sleepy a mini heart attack, but it's harmless. We've got 1 more shot to improve, and we do. The river is the ace of clubs. Unfortunately, we only improved a top pair. It results in a somewhat exciting chop. We take our chips back. Sleepy retains his nit button. Ultimately, Sleepy loses the Nick game, has to splash this pot by adding $500 into the middle pre-flop. The double straddles on. Andrew raises to 250 from under the gun. We look down at pocket fives on his direct left. The graphics only pick up one of our fives. I want to play and have a chance at the extra 500 that's in the middle, but if I call, it's too enticing for someone to put in a big 3-bet squeeze behind us. There are a lot of short stacks that get the advantage of playing a small stack to pot ratio, which allows them to potentially get it in on the lighter side. With all that in mind, I opt to 3-bet to 700. This should allow us to either win immediately or isolate Andrew from in position unless someone else has a monster in 4-bets. But Andrew and I are the first two players to act, so I don't anticipate anyone 4-betting all that light when Andrew and I could both have premium hands. Crypto Max basically snap 4-bet jams for 27-30. It seems incredibly fishy from a player who loves to gamble, but we have removal to ace-5 suited hands that he might be doing this with as a bluff. Every other combo he's ripping it in with either as a flip or has us crushed. Andrew's in the blender with a better hand than us, but he has very little invested in two players that have re-raised him, including one that risked everything. He folds. Now it's decision time for us. We're getting 2-1 on a call. If his cards were face up, I'd snap call. Max isn't quite kind enough to flip him over for us, making this way tougher for me. If he's cold 4-betting light after the player first act raises and we immediately re-raise, then he deserves to win it. I tend to have a solid image, so there's no reason for Max to believe that I 3-bet without a big hand, and I've been calling shoves with ace-queen and 4-bet jamming ace-jack offsuit for around the same amount that Max ripped it in with, so he shouldn't be thinking that I 3-bet those types of combos and fold to a shove. It's not worth the gamble for us. I reluctantly fold. Max gets me to let go of a hand that he would have been flipping with. It's a huge win for him to take down the pot and increase his stack by a large percentage. We're still up quite a bit, but now we need to get some back. The double straddles on, and JL fearlessly raises to 150 on the button with 7-3 suited, highs in the small blind with some Broadway cards. He calls. Andrew's in the big blind with some offsuit connected cards as well. He calls for 140 more. We've got a real hand in the under the gun straddle. It's 125 more for us if we want to call. We don't want to though. We need to clean up the garbage. I 3-bet to 1100. We want to avoid going 4 or 5 ways to the flop. Our 3-bet squeeze gets the job done. The opponents all fold their trash hands. We win 500 to retrieve most of what we lost when we 3-bet the pocket fives a few hands before. I'm in a groove and I'm comfortable as I put on the under the gun +2 triple straddle to 100. Folds to the small blind Iowa Matt, who has a playable hand. He raises to 425. He is not in an enviable spot, playing a trouble hand from out of position with half the table still acting behind him. We've got a suited king and we're ready to play a big pot. I call. The flop comes ace-jack 6 with 2 hearts. We've got a flush draw with the backdoor straight draw. Small blind checks. My perception of him is that he's on the tighter side. He might check his entire range. I don't necessarily take his check as a sign of weakness. He can still have top pair or better. I want to make sure that we get to the turn with our big draw. I check back to see a card for free. The dealer puts out the 4 of hearts, giving us the second nuts. Our opponent checks again. Now I don't think that he has anything that strong after a second check. I want to make sure that we're able to get some money. I make a bet on the smaller side at 350. There's a good chance that the small blind's drawing dead. Maybe we can induce a bluff raise or something though. The small blind calls. Perhaps he has a hand like king queen with the queen of hearts. The river is the 10 of clubs. The opponent checks. If he has king queen, we can make a lot of money. 3 Broadway cards out there is great for our current situation when a tighter player raised pre-flop and we've got the second best possible hand on the river. There's a high probability that the opponent has 2 pair or better that he can call a large bet with. If he's not that strong, he probably won't be able to call a second bet at any significant size anyway. I swing for the fences with an overbet of 2200. I want it to look like I'm trying to buy the pot like I did when we check raised the flop with queen 10 earlier, then overbet 2000 after not really improving on the turn. Our flush should be very well concealed after checking back the flop and only betting small on the previous street. No one wants to feel like they're getting bullied, particularly on stream. Iowa Matt is deep in the tank and is considering calling to keep us honest. If he does, we're going to be up a lot of money on the session. Ultimately, Iowa Matt gets away from it and folds. After triple straddling, the pot is bigger than most in an average 5-10 game. Our stack climbs to a new high point. If we take a look at the leaderboard, we're right at the top with over 5,000 in profit. We completely overcame the early deficit and have gone from the basement to the penthouse with a little more time to add to it. We see in the top right corner that Sleepy lost the most recent Nick game and has to add $500 into the pot once more. It's never fun to lose it even once in a session. Sleepy has now lost it twice. To his credit, he hasn't had a whole lot to work with and still managed to make a huge comeback after losing the 3-way all-in earlier. I triple straddle again from under the gun +2. I've got a good feel for the table, and when that's the case, I'm more than happy to make the game twice as big, or in this instance, 10 times bigger than what it's listed as. Sleepy's first to act and wants to retrieve his 500 that's up for grabs in the middle. He raises to 325. We're last to act with Queen 10 suited. I call for 225 more to close the action. We're heads up out of position with 1250 in the middle. The flop comes 9-4 deuce rainbow. Neither of us have anything. It's going to come down to who wants it more. I check, expecting the opponent to c-bet at a high frequency, even if he's got complete air. Sleepy downbets at 225. We're getting 6.5 to 1 on a call, so I don't like folding anything. I target the opponent's no pair hands with a tiny raise to 550. Sleepy folds immediately. Our check raise gets through with a minimal investment from us. In addition to everything that was wagered, we win the bonus 500. Now we're up 6,000 on the session. Things are going about as smoothly as possible at the moment. It's late in the session, some people have busted and some people have left, so we're playing 5-handed. I double straddled to 50 from the cutoff, and Sleepy triple straddled to 100. It folds to me. I'm happy to gamble some. I raised to 350. Sleepy wants to defend his triple straddle. He calls for 250 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes Jack 9 deuce with 2 hearts. We've got absolutely nothing. I'm not planning to get too wild with so little going for us. I check. Sleepy doesn't wait too long before he checks back. I don't get the sense that he's strong. He probably bet with top pair or better. The turn is the 5 of clubs, giving us a pair. We might have the best hand. I make a small bet of 200 to get the opponent to fold hands containing 2 overs to have equity. The button calls. Maybe he has a hand like second pair or a club draw or straight draw. The river is the 6 of hearts. 8-7 gets there, which was a double gutter on the turn. The club draw missed, but the front door flush draw gets there. I check. I'm not too worried about the front door flush draw because the opponent might bet some of the time on the flop if he was holding 2 hearts. That's why I'm surprised to see the button make a pot-sized bet of 1150. I'm trying to make sense of this. He checked back flop, called our small bet on the turn, and is now going with a huge bet on the river. I don't know if he'd even go this large with a straight. We've mostly gotten the better of Sleepy in our battles against each other today, so maybe he's just trying to beat us in a pot to even the score before we wrap up for the day. I'm having a difficult time letting our hand go because it feels like we're up against the nuts or nothing.
Brad thinking about hero calling here.
Would calling this large bet make me a hero? Some people might say yes, but personally, I don't think so. I'm just a regular guy who plays poker and makes YouTube videos about it. The real heroes? They're the guys who wear capes and fly around cities protecting us from science experiments that have gone wrong, and also aliens. In my opinion, those are the guys who should be getting more credit. In fact, I'm not even going to call. I fold to save 1150. We only play a couple more hands before ending the session. Here's the graphic for the cumulative winnings. A few people went on tears at the end. We do really well overall to get into the green after a rough start and win several thousand, but not quite as much as the graphic shows. Still, it's a great day. Time to rack up. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I appreciate you supporting the channel for almost 8 years now. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. Don't forget to sign up to ClubWPTGold.com using promo Brad. That'll make you eligible for the $2,500 Golden Passport giveaway. I have more information in the description box, but I've got 40 more Golden Passports to give away randomly. Here are this week's winners. Congratulations to you guys. Every week I'm choosing 10 people. So I'm announcing it on Twitter, and then winners will receive email notifications as well. And then I'm also doing the 10% giveaway where I'm giving away 10% of each cash game win that I have, at least until April 1st. Here is the list of those winners for the last week. So I had some nice wins, and those amounts will be deposited into your ClubWPT Gold accounts once the site is fully up and running. hopefully in January. That's the plan. But I've got some traveling coming up. I'm going out to Best Bet in Jacksonville for the WPT Championship Festival. I'll be there for the 5K event, but I'll be playing some cash as well probably. And then I'm going out to the Seminole Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida after that for the WPT Championship event out there. Hope to see you guys around. If you do see me, always feel free to say hi. And if you're ever interested, I'm happy to grab a photo or chat for a little bit. Hope you're all doing well. Good luck at the tables. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.